Hey everybody, we are back. We're going to finish the third part now of our Psalm 127 three-part message as we go through selected Psalms. It's called this Psalm 127. We called it Building a Better You. This is part 3. And part 3 is about learning to rest. We've looked at how God has been, builds our lives. Unless the Lord builds a house, they labor in vain that build it. And God gives specifics on how He wants to build our lives. He covers certain specifics. And I want you to notice something now about specifics. Look at Psalm 127. I'm going to read verses 1 and verse 2. He says this: Unless the Lord builds a house, they labor in vain who build it. Unless the Lord guards a city, the watchman keeps awake in vain. It is vain. Now remember, the word vain means meaningless. It is vain for you to rise up early, to retire late, to eat the bread of painful labors, for he gives to his beloved even in his sleep. What in the world is going on there? Let me tell you what's going on. God calls you and I to regular rest. But some of us don't believe that, do we? No, not me. I really don't need that. Listen. I think most of us would say the 10 Commandments are like right on. I'm trying to follow those. Except the one about taking a day of rest. So, in this study, I want to look at this idea of rest, which I think most of us would agree it's a great idea in theory. But difficult sometimes to carry out in application, isn't it? Because we just are so busy and life is demanding. I'm not going to lie about that one. It's just true. Now, let me tell you who I'm not talking to today, or who the Bible's not talking to in this text. It's not talking to people who just want to lay around their whole lives. No, not you. You have no problem with rest. In fact, you might be taking too much rest. I'm talking to my fellow workaholics who don't think they ever need to rest and keep going. I was once in your shoes. I really was. And it almost killed me multiple times. So here we go. The first thing I want to say about it from here is stop working from early morning till late at night. That's what he's telling you. Stop working from early morning till late at night. Let me read verse 2 again. It is vain, meaningless, for you to rise up early, to retire late, to eat the bread of painful labors, for he gives to his beloved even in his sleep. Okay. It was about 5 years ago. I was on vacation. We were taking turns driving each day. So our quest, there's a couple couples, is our quest to hit out all 50 states before whatever happens. This day was not my turn to drive the rental van, whatever it was. It was a big vehicle. It's because someone in our group did not feel well. It was their turn, but I'm a type A, and I'll step in like Batman. I'll drive. And so I did. Now, mind you, we left the shores of New Jersey that morning, drove south, took the ferry across the Delaware like George Washington. And I got into Delaware, got in that car again. I drove all the way up Delaware, all the way across through Pennsylvania, southern Pennsylvania, all the way down into West Virginia, and I finally got to Morgantown, West Virginia at about midnight. We unloaded the luggage in front of the hotel. They told us you have to park the vehicle across the street. I said, I'll go park the vehicle. I went and parked it, and I'll never forget. I sat in that car, and I was so tired. I began to think to myself, you know what? I could just fall asleep right here. I'm exhausted. I drove from early in the morning all day into late at night. And mind you, I enjoy driving. But it just killed me that day. Listen, some people live their lives this way. Some people approach work this way, including pastors. We just go, morning, late to night, early morning, late night, early morning, late night, and it's just slowly killing us. And I can attest to that from experience. Can I ask you a question? I'm going to give you a half second to think about it, then I'm going to answer it. Why did Samson fall? You thought temptation, and the answer is yes. But is that the only reason? What did he keep doing on Delilah's lap? He kept falling asleep. That tells you he was tired. Do we make our best decisions when we're tired? No. See, Samson lost his spiritual edge and found himself on the wrong lap. And in exhaustion, he got worn down till he finally gave up the secret. And the rest is history. Guys, we cannot live our lives just going from early morning till late at night, early morning till late at night. It's just going to catch up to us. The second thing I want to say is this: without rest, there is a return, but it is painful. Verse 2 again, he says, it's vain for you to rise up early, to retire late, to eat the bread of painful labors, for he gives to his beloved even in his sleep. See, there's bread to eat. There's a return. It's admitting it right there. Because he's working and he's getting a return. But because he's working from early in the morning to late at night, the return came at a cost. Very painful, very painful. You ever wonder why so many relationships that began in love and love you forever ended? Because somebody just started overworking. No family time, no time to cultivate the marriage. And trust me, I'm not here to make anyone feel guilty or condemn someone because you have to work a lot just to pay the bills and to make basic needs in the home. I'm not talking about that. I applaud you, and I know you wish you didn't have to do that. But how many people don't have, they blow up the relationship to get further and further down the road and get ahead and get more things, but it ends up costing them, ends up in pain, blows up relationships, blows up family relationships, blows up parent-child relationship. It just blows up. Now let me show you a strange story that makes perfect sense. This is a strange Old Testament story, but I'm going to explain it to you. Now, it's found in Numbers, Numbers chapter 15. And it says this. Now watch. Verse 32 to 35. Now while the sons of Israel were in the wilderness, meaning they're traveling through the desert, they found a man. They came upon this guy. He's gathering wood on the Sabbath day. He's picking up sticks on the Sabbath day. It's a rest day, remember? Those who found him gathering wood brought him to Moses and Aaron. Moses is the head honcho. Aaron's the right-hand man. And to all the congregation. So they're bringing this guy to everybody's. And look, and they put him in custody. They arrest the guy, put him in custody because it had not been declared what should be done to him. Then the Lord said to Moses, the man shall surely be put to death, and all the congregation shall stone him with stones outside the camp. What? This is in the Bible? What? Stone him? Well, of course, he's a stick gatherer. Don't you stone stick gatherers? Now, let me tell you something here. There were 4 things in the Old Testament that you stone people for. Murder, adultery, being a rebellious kid, which is still a pretty good idea. No, I'm just joking. And for not resting on the Sabbath. Now, you may think, well, that's harsh, that's terrible. What kind of a God? You're going to kill him for not taking a day of rest? There's an application here, my friends. And the application is this. Are you killing yourself by overworking? This man on the Sabbath was supposed to be resting. This is what God commanded. He wants you to rest. He's serious about it. He views you as a human being, not a human doing. Take your rest. Are you killing yourself? Did you know that Israel was allowed to go into captivity for 70 years? Because one reason was they didn't give the land every 7th year of rest. That means for 490 years, they never gave the land the 7th year of rest. And finally, God says, enough is enough. Guys, if God is concerned about land resting, you think he's concerned about you resting and me resting? Yeah. You look. We cannot keep violating the rest principle and not expect some negative things to happen. It's just that simple. You can't do it. Somewhere someone's got to give. Somewhere there's going to be pain. You keep going, doing, busy. Something's going to blow. Something's going to give. So I hope you heed these words. Now, the third thing I want to say is this. When I take a day of rest, God invests. Oh, I like that so much. Psalm 127, verse 2. Watch what it says at the end. I'll read the verse 2. It says, it's vain for you to rise up early, to retire late, to eat the bread of painful labors. For he gives to his beloved, even in his sleep. What? Okay. What does that mean? It means this. And I've experienced this because I learned these things the hard way. When I rest, I leave room for God to do more than I could ever do. I leave room for God to make things happen quicker than I ever could. I leave room for God to open doors that I'm killing myself trying to open. Did you know? And this is so frustrating, but I'm glad they do it. Have you ever driven after church to Chick-fil-A on a Sunday and then only to realize they're closed on Sundays? They're one of the very few fast food chains that close on Sundays. Most do not. Because Sunday is one of the busiest days for fast food chains. But it's where they make the most money. But the founder did it to honor God and to give his employees a day of rest and to be with the family. And did you know that Chick-fil-A, because they honor, and I think it's because they do this, it outperforms almost all the fast food chains badly? They have found that this is true. That if you honor God and take your rest, honor his word, take your rest, you leave room for God to do what you could never do. He gives to his beloved even in his sleep. It's like God is telling you and I this. Hey, you want to wear yourself out 7 days a week? Have at it. I'll get out of your way. Go ahead. Carry the world on your shoulders. I'll stay out of your life. Go ahead. Blow your life up. And then finally you're going to come back and you say, okay, I'm learning my lesson. Now, important sidebar. We New Testament believers, do we find any Sabbath instructions in the New Testament? Do we find anything? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes. Now, look at Colossians chapter 2. In Colossians chapter 2 and verse 16, it says this. And I could use other ones, but I'll use this one. Therefore, no one is to act as your judge in regard to food or drink, or in respect to a festival or a new moon or a Sabbath day. He's talking about the Sabbath day and the Sabbath rest and all that goes with it. But here's what he's saying in there. Take your rest. But he's also telling you here, no one can judge what day your Sabbath day's rest is. For them, it was Saturday in the Old Testament, Saturday. For us, it could be any day of the week. Thank God, because you know what? The day and age we live in with businesses open all the time and weird hours, your rest day may not be on Saturday or Sunday. Thank God for it. It doesn't have to be Sunday for me. That's a work day. Some of you maybe it's a Tuesday. You're off that day. Maybe it's 2 half days. I don't know, because of the way things are. It's just our society does not honor these things anymore. But however you do it, just do it. And take your rest and watch what God does. Now, let me close with a few things. God chose to rest. God himself chose to rest on the seventh day. Question, did God need rest? No. Then why do you rest? To teach people like maybe you and for sure me, who used to think I didn't need any rest. Jim, you bonehead, you need to rest. God didn't need it, but he took it to show me, to give me an example. And think. You know that in Genesis, the Jewish day begins at sunset and ends the next day at sunset. That's why it says an evening and a morning the first day, evening and morning the second day. Their concept of a day begins with rest, evening. Our concept of a day begins with work, morning, if you think about it. If you think about it. There's a message in that. And think, Adam was created on what day of the week? The sixth day. This means he's created on that day 6. His first full day of existence is the seventh day, which was a rest day. His first full day of existence Would have been a full rest day. Isn't that something? What's God telling us here? And think, when God gave the Israelites the Ten Commandments, why does he put in a day of rest? It's really obvious, guys. Because for 400 years, they were slaves and they never, ever had a day of rest. They never did. So God says, one of the first things we're going to do, implement a day of rest. How smart, huh? How wise, how loving, how grace-filled. How many of us are slaves to our jobs right now? We need to watch that. Final question. Somebody's going to ask me, what do you do on your day off, Jim? Wrong question. It's not what I do on my day off. It's what I don't do. I try not to do anything work related. I try to stay away from that. And I found if I follow this, if I rest, then God invests. And I found it to be true. I hope this encouraged you. I hope this offered you some maybe correction of things to bring a more blessed life to your life. Well, I'm going to pause there, and we'll see you next time.